Good morning. It is Monday, August 16th. I'm Shane Celia, and this is the CBC Morning Report. There are mixed views about whether or not legislation will address the problem of harassment, particularly of women. The issue was discussed on the latest edition of the People's Business last night. Caller Professor Velma Newton, the director of Impact Justice, the Impact Justice Project, says that there is proposed legislation before CARICOM which speaks to sexual harassment.
Make sexual harassment include unwelcome sexual advance towards a person, unwelcome requests for sexual favors from a person, unwelcome sexual comment to a person, unwelcome sexual gesture, contact, and unwelcome sexual images or graphics, or unwelcome audio of a sexual nature, and showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or nonverbal contact of sexual nature. In other words, it is extremely wide and it captures most of the areas in which, especially women, complain of sexual harassment. And there can be consequences in that you can be taken to court for that sort of behavior.
However, the director of projects of Men's Empowerment Network Support, Jermaine Beckford, is worried about taking that legal route.
We can't have a situation where every single form of interaction between a male and female, male on male, or female on female can be considered as harassment, whether it be in person, over the phone, via WhatsApp, Facebook, or whatever. The reality is this. As I said, we need to bring ourselves within reason and common sense. We must understand where the line is drawn, where there's unwanted attention and unwanted, as you call it, catcalling, the harassment, whatever it is. But we cannot, as a society, train our young boys and young girls that, okay, if you do this, that's harassment. So we can't stop communicating with one another, right? What I think needs to happen, and I will say this on this program tonight, it starts from inside of the homes. Mothers and fathers need to be mothers and fathers again, not the television, not your next door neighbor. You as a mother need to be a mother to your son or daughter, and as a father you need to be a father to your son or daughter. Vice versa, when children go into schools, teachers have to take responsibility for their part, and society has to be a whole of society approach. Legislation will in no way stop harassment. I think in some ways, legislation that is being proposed will cause harassment to increase, right? At current, there is sufficient legislation on the books. I think we are overly legislated. And, we can operate within the confines of the legislation and ensure that persons stick to the letter of the law. And if any person, male or female, feels that they are being harassed in any way, they go to the Royal Barbados Police Force, make a complaint. And what I will add is that the Royal Barbados Police Force needs to take some of these complaints more seriously than people come to them from early. I will concede that.
Now, the university lecturer, Dr. Daniel Bob, is not convinced legislation will adequately deal with the issue of harassment and feels there is still a big role for government to play.
We need a kind of societal shift, a change in our structures as well, because I'm going to say clearly, any interaction you have, there is a power dynamic. But that power dynamic differs. If it's man on man, there's a certain dynamic that's there, and oftentimes those are in the legal books. Certain behaviors are criminalized, and you can deal with that differently. If it's a case of, let's say, sexual harassment in the street, in the public space, again, that is a different kind of dynamics that's taking place, especially usually the perpetrator is a man, and it's usually a woman or a girl that's being harassed. And so there's a different type of dynamic, and the access to the kind of justice or even the police support is much different. Oftentimes police, they do not take it seriously, yes, but often that has to do too with how are they going to report it, under what kind of legislation, how are they going to process this. But there needs to be also a training around these issues. How do you deal with these matters? What can be put in place to deal with these matters? And so we have to be able to say it's not just about teaching our children in the home, but it has to be the state, because look, our young people are looking on to see how is the state addressing this issue of harassment. Now they're fully aware of what's taking place in social media, so they're
Yes,
fully
they are.
aware of this issue, and they're looking to see how are our government officials responding to this. Is this a serious matter? Is this something that can be brushed off?
We'll take a break here, but when we come back, we'll look at the daily spike in COVID-19 cases. The number of daily COVID-19 cases has increased to 23 people, 10 males and 13 females. This after 1,770 tests were conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Saturday. The number of people in isolation is now 101, and Barbados has recorded 4,548 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and that's since the start of the pandemic back in March last year. There have been 48 deaths. The COVID-19 health crisis continues to impact Jamaica's correctional facilities, with active cases among staff and inmates and low vaccine uptake. Currently, there are 8 active cases of COVID-19 among inmates and 5 active cases among staff in the Department of Correctional Services across the island. More in the CVM Live report.
Currently, there are 8 active cases of COVID-19 among inmates and 5 active cases among staff in the Department of Correctional Services. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of National Security, Senator Matthew Samuda, says at least 2 facilities are currently being impacted by positive cases.
There are cases at Metcalf Street amongst our juvenile population. None of them, as I understand, are in serious medical condition, and we continue to monitor them and pray for their swift recovery. There are also cases at Tamarind Farm at the moment, and we have had some of our probation officers who do work in the field who have active cases of COVID.
Meanwhile, vaccine hesitancy continues to be a key factor for the low vaccine take-up in correctional facilities. Less than 10% of inmates have taken the vaccine.
I think the important thing for the country to know is that correctional service continues to make vaccines available to inmates who want it. We continue to do our public education and to encourage them to take it. It is the easiest way for us to return to issues, to things like visitation, and to reduce the need for particular measures which we know make the time in prison that much more difficult.
33% of probation officers and about 25% of correctional officers have so far been vaccinated.
Meanwhile, Indonesia is struggling with one of the worst coronavirus outbreaks in the world, and it is increasingly killing children. At least 1,245 children have died, more than 70% of them in the past 2 months, as the Delta variant surges across that country.
In Indonesia's Sika Regency, yet another young life has been lost to COVID-19. Funeral workers have come to take this coffin to the cemetery. Inside is the body of a 2-month-old baby. Her name was Maria. She died in hospital almost 3 hours from her family's home. Now her parents have returned to their village.
We came back here from the hospital because our child is dead.
All they have are their memories of Maria. They don't even have a photo of their daughter.
I stay at home and rest because I'm always thinking about my daughter who died.
As Indonesia's COVID crisis continues, even the youngest have not been spared. And in many parts of the country, children may also be suffering from a second disease or medical condition which heightens the risk.
Stunting or malnutrition will have an impact on a child's immune system, so if they get infected, it's likely to hit them harder.
A slow vaccination drive outside major cities is also putting young people in danger, as many children contract the virus from family members.
People said children not affected and children couldn't die, but right now we have a lot of children die.
As the Delta variant continues to spread across Indonesia, more children are falling ill each day.
Every week, hundreds of Indonesian children die from COVID-19. Most are under the age of 5. And as the death toll increases, so too does demand for small, child-sized coffins built for the country's young victims of the pandemic.
Jubaida still cannot believe her granddaughter Shalova is gone. She was just 4 years old.
She was kind and cute. Everyone liked her. I'm sad she left me behind. I still want to take care of her, but God decided otherwise.
Shalova never got the chance to ride her new bike. Hers, like thousands around the country, was a childhood cut short by the pandemic.
Let's go over to Pearson now to hear what's happening on the Monday edition of Morning Barbados. Pearson?
Thank you, Shane. When you join me here on Morning Barbados in just a little while, we'll meet the Caribbean technology provider company Shearing. They're providing an access to know your customer information through their platform. What is that platform? What are the drawbacks? What are the security features in place to make it more comfortable for all of us to be a part of? We'll talk a little bit about that with them. Today we'll also meet 2 of the nationally distinguished teachers. Yep, there were 10. We met 2 before. We'll meet 2 more this morning. And in our Bajan of our segment, there's a Bajan living in South Korea. Who is he and what's he up to? We'll introduce you to him and a whole lot more straight ahead when you join me on Morning Barbados. It's back to you, Shane.
Interesting, Pearson. We'll take a break here and come back with more news. The government industrial school is poised for transformation. Word of this is coming from the acting principal, Ronald Brathwaite.
We are going some transformation here at the school right now. We just enshrined and put into place a new operational and procedural manual which delineates everything that has to be done at the school in the correct order. Everything has a purpose and a way it has to be done. So all these things are here at the school now in place for the residents here at the school. Currently at the school, we have 4 committal boys and 2 remands. And at the girls, there are 4 committal girls and 1 remand currently.
The acting principal adds new programs and training opportunities are also to be rolled out at the school.
We have a full range up to about 8 CXC subjects that the children are exposed to. So the children do CXC subjects. We have remedial programs also for the ones who are not of such like minds in terms of academia. We have vocational skill programs in the areas of carpentry, agriculture, masonry, and tailoring, fashion designing, and landscaping. We are looking to introduce other programs. Like here now in the summer, we are now in trend of a full creative arts therapy program, and teaching the children a lot of life skills.
In the wake of power outages brought by Hurricane Elsa, more Barbadians have been looking to invest in backup power systems. But instead of going the traditional route of diesel generators, many have been seeking to embrace renewable energy. Chief Executive Officer of Future Energy Caribbean, David Green, says their solar photovoltaic starter kits are popular choices.
Daily, we see a minimum of at least 10 calls per day coming in, as well as queries on our Facebook and Instagram page. So there's been quite an uptake in calls coming in from the public. People are very curious about the kit, as well as being able to expand their existing systems to house batteries as well. The starter kit will allow you to power a fridge, your modem or Wi-Fi system, as well as charge devices and run lights as well in the home.
Says the company has been moving to meet demand by introducing affordable payment solutions.
We do offer a layaway plan over a 3-month period, so you can come into our offices in King Garden, St. Thomas, make a deposit, and you can pay off for that over the next 3 months.
In other news, Maritime Affairs and Blue Economy Minister Kirk Humphrey has been responding to a viral social media video about the erection of a structure on the beach side on the west coast. He says the wall highlighted is decades old and was never designed to prevent beach access, but rather to protect the property. He spoke to the issue in a detailed 10-point post on his ministry's social media pages. Minister Humphrey explains he and the director of this Coastal Zone Management Unit, Dr. Leo Brewster, visited the area to investigate the matter and found many of the claims made in the video, including the presence of broken glass, to be false. In fact, the minister says the structure at the site is not a groin but a revetment. It was never built into the sea, but erosion caused the sea to make its way onto the structure. Mr. Humphreys also announced a temporary program to monitor the rate of erosion at that site, and that will be rolled out shortly. Officials say they have also reached out to the creator of the video to get more clarity. Be mindful when pruning trees, and if you're in doubt, seek advice from the Ministry of the Environment. That advice is being given by the Environment Minister, Adrian Ford. He was speaking just under 100 trees were planted on the grounds of the Government Industrial School in St. Philip, where the National Tree Planting Project made its second stop.
Before you go and trim your trees, we have a dendrologist and we have the experts in the ministry to be able to guide you on which branches to take off and how to trim the trees so that we will not have damage to those trees.
This is planted this way right because it is bending towards the wind. So by the time the wind starts...
Three planting session gave some pointers on the best pruning techniques. He explained many trees were uprooted by Hurricane Elsa, while others were damaged by the incorrect cutting techniques used.
I don't like the butchery that I'm seeing. Trees should be cut at the divisions, because this is where your white blood cells are. This is where you find all the defense products like your alkalines, your tannins, your resins, and so on. So if you cut in the main branch and leave and not the divisions, you're going to get rapid rotting coming back down. And then because the rotting is so significant at a rapid rate, the tree don't have time to actually to resist, to put out resistance.
At least 1,297 people are dead and more than 5,700 injured after Saturday's 7.2 magnitude earthquake which struck Haiti. The Haitian government has declared a state of emergency. More in this report.
In mountains of rubble, Haitians look for survivors. Within moments, businesses, homes, and lives all shattered by the magnitude 7.2 earthquake. The damage is devastating, especially in a country that's already suffered so much from the last earthquake in 2010 and its recent political and security breakdowns. With hospitals overwhelmed in hard-hit cities like Jérémie and Le Quai, some victims were taken to the capital, Port-au-Prince, for medical assistance. Rescue teams say there have been unforeseen challenges. A landslide triggered by the earthquake blocked major roads, and humanitarian workers say gang activity just west of the capital is also complicating efforts.
A lot of damage was caused by this earthquake. People in the capital don't know what is happening in the city of Le Quai. It is devastated.
Haiti is still struggling to come to terms with the assassination of its president last month and a worsening COVID-19 pandemic. The Prime Minister says he's rushing aid to the affected areas.
We're calling for a lot of solidarity, but it needs to be highly structured so that what we experienced in 2010 is not repeated.
More than 200,000 people were killed in the 2010 earthquake, and now, more than a decade later, Saturday's tremor is bringing back painful memories.
I was leaving my business and I felt the movement. It felt like the earth was moving. I saw that everything was falling. When I got home, I saw the extent of the damage.
The government has declared a one-month state of emergency as it tries to find out the extent of the damage.
As the Taliban tightens its grip on Kabul, there is a growing sense of panic among people living in the Afghan capital. Prices of basic goods have skyrocketed as many try to withdraw all of their funds.
With Kabul now under siege, so are its banks. People clamour to get their money out. Security guards try to tell customers not to worry, but that's all most of them can do. Ahmed Ashraf says he has been trying for 3 days to withdraw his money. He's from the northern city of Pulikumri that fell to the Taliban last week.
The banks in all the provinces captured by the Taliban are not giving out any money.
Among the panicked customers are many government employees and police officers, some of whom haven't been paid for months. This officer told us even the cash machines are empty.
Everyone is very tense, and everyone now is looking at the banks to get their money out, and there's no money.
Prices for all basics, from fuel to food, have been climbing steadily for months as Afghanistan has been sinking further into conflict. Now they're skyrocketing. While increasing numbers of Kabul residents who have the means and a passport have been looking for a way out.
The cost of an airline seat has shot up, and that's if you can get one. A one-way ticket to Istanbul has gone up by more than 5 times to $2,400, while another airline doesn't give a price on its website, but asks you to call for a quote.
This is a city that has experienced decades of trauma, and it's now being tested once more.
In sports, the West Indies have won the first test against Pakistan, beating the visitors in a nail-biter on day 4 by 1 wicket at Sabina Park, Jamaica last evening. Set 168 for the win, the Windies reached the target with 168 for 9. The victory charge was led by Jermaine Blackwood, who made 55 with 10 fours, while at the end it was Kemar Roach, who with 30 not out, got the Windies over the line. Pacer Shaheen Afridi took 4 for 50 in the losing effort for Pakistan. Earlier, the Pakistanis resumed their second innings on 164-5 and were bowled out for 203. Skipper Babar Azam top scored with 55, while the player of the match was Jaden Seals. He took 5 for 55 in a record effort, and Roach 3 for 30. Here are the highlights.
edged and taken. Catch number 7 diving away.
A low tide will come our way in the afternoon at 26 minutes after 3. Though seas are smooth to moderate in open water, swells are peaking at the 1.5 meter mark right now and expected to increase. It will be partly sunny today in Barbados with only a few brief isolated light showers. And tonight, partly cloudy conditions will prevail with a few brief isolated light showers. Today over the Lesser Antilles, it will be partly cloudy to occasionally cloudy with a few light scattered showers. And it will be fair to occasionally cloudy tonight in the Lesser Antilles. And here's a quick look at some of our selected international cities and conditions there. And that's it for this edition of the CBC Morning Report. I'm Shane Seeley. Morning Barbados starts now.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning. Good morning, Barbados. Good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Morning, morning, morning.
And good morning to you. Welcome to Monday, the 16th of August, 2021. This is Morning Barbados, and I am Pearson Bowen. Welcoming all of you watching us on our website, cbc.bb, and on our social media streams on Facebook at CBC Barbados and Morning Barbados. Wonderful having you company this Monday morning. Today, we meet a young woman from America who has determined that her life must be about bridging that gap, fostering the opportunity for communications between law enforcement and the community. What are those challenges and trials? We'll read in the book when she joins us a little later on. We'd also this morning be meeting a young man who is passionate about becoming a professional actor, but he needs your help. He'll tell you his story, and we're hoping that from his story you can pull from your generosity to assist him in realizing his dream. But speaking of dreams, let's get started now by meeting two of our nationally recognized and distinguished teachers. First, Fiona Colucci and Alison Murray. Good morning to you, ladies.
Good morning.
Congratulations on your national award. It must mean the world to you, Fiona.
It does. It does. It was a very rewarding, shocking, and overwhelming experience. It really was.
You use the word shocking. Why?
Because I know we have over 3,000 teachers, and we all try our best. We all do our best. But then to be selected out of those 3,000, it was shocking.
What was it like for you, Alison?
Absolutely rewarding as well. I was very pleased and honored, humbled even to be recognized by my peers and my students. Quite an honor.
Now, Alison, you teach at the Grantley Adams Memorial School. Yours is not one of those schools that people think to be quote-unquote prestigious. So obviously your challenge is a little bit different from Fiona's, for instance. How is life as a teacher at Grantley Adams Memorial?
Pearson, I love my job. I absolutely love my job. No matter where I go, I'm going to do my best. I get to interact with some wonderful boys and girls who, yes, present with literacy challenges and who need that extra support within the classroom environment. I interact with wonderful members of staff, interact with wonderful parents, and so on and off for me. Because of my love for my job, I'm pretty all right.
You know, you can see your warmth radiating through your face right now watching you on the screen, which says you put a lot of passion into what you do. And it must mean so much to know that the parents of the children, those in the community, everybody, they put your name forward. When did you know that your name was nominated?
My principal gave me a ring, and he offered congrats to me. And for me, that was when I knew that, I would have been involved in any way. It was quite a surprise, and really was just thankful for the honor.
And Fiona, you at St. Matthew's Primary, you're teaching now little ones at the primary level.
I do.
What classes do you teach?
I teach nursery and reception, the actual little ones.
You are at the beginning. You are literally
Yes,
at
please.
the beginning of helping this plant grow and become and blossom into something significant. So here it is
Yes,
then.
please.
You got a call to be told your name was put forward. How was that for you?
It was exciting. I kind of knew before because my parents said, Miss Colucci, we're going to do this. We know it's not something that you really like, but we have to, recognize you for all the things that you have done for our children for the past 2 years. Because I had that class for 2 years. I had them in nursery and reception. So I actually saw them growing from little tots coming in to writing and interacting and being more independent and brave. So, yeah.
How truly rewarding is the job of teaching for you, though?
It is very rewarding. It is very rewarding when you see the growth, when you see what they mature, when you see them you give them a task and you can see the difficulty, but you can see them thriving and the motivation and, the effort they put to move from one part to another. That's why I think I like the early childhood, because you can actually see the stages of growth from the beginning. Just as you said, a plant, a seed, a seedling, and then this big, beautiful tree that bears fruit, because they actually bear fruit at the end of every school year.
They bear fruit at the end of every school year. Alison, you were nodding in agreement as well, but yours is a different cohort. You are now teaching students who are opinionated, and they are verbal, and they want to challenge you. How do you stay motivated in the face of all of that?
Like, Pearson, these students I interact with, while Fiona is dealing with babies, remember I'm going to be dealing with students who present with literacy challenges and who present with special education needs. So for me, it is so exciting. If a child comes to me, let's say I test him in September and he can only recognize 4 sight words, and then I retest him perhaps in March and he's now able to call 10, 15 sight words. Listen, Pearson, the joy and the excitement. I run out the classroom, I holler, I scream, I record, because I share in the joy. When I get any feedback from parents, I have a particular parent who always reminds me, she said, Mrs. Marie, I'm so grateful that my son was able to interact with you, because this child is now reading, I would say, 2, 3 grade levels above what he would have been reading when I first met him. So that metaphor of the tree really stands true for me, even in my setting.
Wow. Who in your teaching career has inspired you, though, Alison, to stay focused, to stay with it, and to love it in the way that you do?
My mother, Marcel Pennigan, has contributed to education in Barbados. She has spent more than 50 years, continues to do that. She continues to be my rock. She is what I deem to be a mentor teacher. You know, as younger teachers, well, I'm not so young anymore, but as young teachers, you need to have that person that you can toss ideas to get some feedback, and in a way that's not judgmental, because teaching is that type of thing where you have your ideas, you have your thoughts, but everything doesn't always work out as you'd want it to. And it's always wonderful to have that mentor teacher around who can help guide you. And so really, at the end of the day, all fingers point right back to my mom, Marcel Pennigan.
Wow. What about you, Fiona? Who was it for you that inspired you to stay focused, to take up teaching and the skill of being able to craft minds?
My family is filled with teachers. There are actually 10 of us. There are only 2 left in the system right now. All the others have retired. But to see, you know, it was observation, to see my aunts bring these children to, as Alison said, my aunt did literacy. So I would see her come in and, you know, motivate these children and say, you can read. And they would move from, as Alison said, some could not even read, but by the time my aunts were finished, they were reading, their esteem was high. And I sat there and said, I want to do that. When I came out of school, that was the only job I went for. As soon as I came out, I was 16 years old, and I went to the ministry and I applied to be a teacher, because I knew that was what I wanted to give back and you know, see the benefits, have a job that you can see the benefits of it and the joys, as Alison said, and you know, just to see how it changes lives and how you can see it in their faces. Even if they don't say it, you can see, you know, the joys in their faces. So I would say, watching my aunts through the years from a young age, straight up going through school, those were my mentors and motivators towards
That's such a beautiful story. At 16 years old, you were determined to be a teacher, 16. To give back.
I didn't get here at 16 though. They said I was a bit too young, and I came back at 18. They said, you're still a bit too young. And I came back at 21. I said, I am an adult now. And they took me at the age of 23.
There
finally.
You go for persistence. I love it indeed. What is it about teaching, start with you, Alison, what is it about teaching that you think we, the general population, do not quite understand or appreciate?
Interesting question. I say that the general population perhaps doesn't really understand the type of effort that teachers put in. We give so much of ourselves, sometimes even sacrificing our own family time. I have thoughts of my students all the time.
Wow.
Person, I'm sitting here and I'm surrounded by things like puppets. I have all sorts of things around, because when I'm interacting with my students, I want to make sure that they, especially in the online environment, I want to make sure that they're engaged. I want to make sure that they feel excited about class. Literally pour my entire self into every single lesson. And for me, I'd like for people to understand, you know, sometimes things are not always perhaps what they may want, but teachers really do pour themselves into everything that we do.
Wow. What about you, Fiona? What is it that you think we need to know better about teachers and to understand really about you and what you do?
The public really needs to know. As Alison said, we really, really try. I don't even think the word overtime fits what we do. We get up thinking, we go to sleep with one thing on our minds, and we get up with either this is how it's going to work, or we always, teaching is always on our minds, especially if we have children that have difficulties. We are always sitting, researching, trying to find ways, manipulatives to help these children, because we don't feel good unless we reach these children. We are on vacation now, and as Alison said, she has puppets, and right now I'm looking at a pile of papers trying to, put together the curriculum. What do I want to do this term? We are always sacrificing our time. We really, really put in great efforts to meet our children and to satisfy our parents. We don't always, you can't always please everyone, but we really, really put in great effort into our profession. We actually sleep, drink, teaching.
Wow. If it wasn't teaching, what would you want to be able to do?
I wanted to be a chef. I wanted to be a chef. I did go to hospitality, but it has worked out for me. I wanted to be a home ec teacher to combine the two.
Yes.
But I wasn't successful. But what I do, every school I go at, we enter NIFCA. And we always top the goals. We always come up with 5, 11 goals. St. Matthew's, actually, we had the most goals the last time. My babies, their first year, we actually won our first bronze. We had a St. Matthew's Calypso drink. Put every fruit that everyone liked into this blender. We put in a Sprite. We blended it. We said we're going to hope for the best. And we were the youngest group to win an award at NIFCA. So I incorporated it into my teaching. I love to cook. So even fundraisers at school, that's what I do to incorporate both my loves, and it works.
Well done. What about you, Alison? If it wasn't teaching, what would it be?
It would either be law or speech therapy. But I actually am able to use both of those in my job. I try as best I can to advocate, keep lots of noise, answer lots of questions for my students to make sure that they are given what they're supposed to get in terms of readers and writers. And then the aspect of speech therapy, one of my very best friends is a speech therapist, and so I'm able to take guidance from her as it relates to using informal tools within the classroom. So right now, Pearson, at this point, I'm doing exactly what God wants me to do for our nation. I see myself as a nation builder. I want to help the students in Barbados. I'm willing to challenge terms like at-risk and marginalized and get us to consider that many of our learners have been ill-served. And I want to champion the cause of special education and literacy in Barbados and the Caribbean. Because these children deserve the best. They're God's children, and this is God's work.
Amen to that one. I feel like getting up right now and come and joining the teacher profession. You two ladies have made it seem so exciting, so interesting.
It is.
Did you know each other before now?
Yes. We are actually products of the great Charles F. Brew Memorial Primary. Wonderful institution, and to me, Charles F. Brew was really one of the places where you learn so many wonderful things about being a lady and how to talk and how to walk and how to interact with others, how to be mannerly, walk on the left side of the corridor. So these are things that I still do. People don't understand it, but I still do these things. Yes. We had our own little accents at Charles F. Brew Pearson.
I tell you, I could tell you two knew each other. I just had to ask, just to be clear in my mind, because you seem so familiar with each other. Well, I want to commend you. I think the whole nation joins this morning in congratulating both of you for doing so well what you've already been doing. And we know the future looks bright because your passion inspires all of us to know that you will have successful outcomes. So thank you so much for joining us this morning, Fiona Colucci and Alison Murray, both distinguished teachers. And so we continue to celebrate your success. All the best.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Sweetener, we're coming back with more right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 13 and a half minutes now to go to the hour of 7 o'clock. We're introducing you now to a Caribbean technology provider, a company known as Sharing. And with us this morning is Daryl Thomas, who is the Business Development and Innovation Manager with Sharing. Good morning to you, Daryl.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well. How are you doing?
Not too bad. I quite enjoyed your last segment because
I did too.
I like seeing teachers with passion.
Yeah, I know your passion as well, because your passion is about providing technology through sharing. What is that technology that you're providing the Caribbean, and in what ways can we benefit from that technology?
Well, Sharing is a technology provider that provides blockchain solutions, right? I'm not too sure if you know what blockchain is, but it's essentially the new way of storing data, right? It's what you call a distributed ledger. So typically you would see, for example, banks and large corporations storing data in centralized locations. With blockchain, it's decentralized, meaning that once you affect one block in the chain, it affects everything before it. So it's very, very, very hard to penetrate, very, very, very secure and transparent. And with that, it's changing, I think, every single industry that there is, especially the financial industry, the financial sector, in terms of insurance, banking, payments, basically money transfer, changing things like supply chain, governments, healthcare, all of those, and education, and like the young lady just mentioned, in education as well. So what Sharing is doing is we're introducing this technology to the Caribbean. It's being used in Barbados right now for the new central bank, not Barbados, sorry, in Bahamas, with their sand dollar. They just introduced a new digital currency called the sand dollar. And it was the first in the world, so Bahamas was the first to do it. And also the ECCB, Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, is using blockchain for their Dcash, their digital Eastern Caribbean dollar. So what we're doing is we're introducing a number of solutions to the Caribbean market as the Caribbean market. We're not taking technology from other countries and bringing it into the Caribbean. We're actually introducing it through the Caribbean itself. So it's homegrown, it's powered by an international company. So it's something that will change the aspects of things like eKYC, what we are launching in Barbados, things like healthcare, digital identification, and a number of different aspects in terms of technology.
That's what it will do. What is the problem you're trying to solve with the introduction of this technology?
A lot of legacy processes, really, things that are not streamlined, things that are very, very costly. So we're trying to reduce that cost, streamline the processes, kind of automate what needs to be automated. We don't believe in just automating things just because, because sometimes you end up in a situation where persons have they're adverse to it because they look at it as something that is taking away their jobs or anything like that, right? Because that's how technology is. But what we're doing is looking at things that need to be streamlined, like the processes when you do KYC, you go from bank to bank or credit union to credit union, bringing your papers, your documents, your IDs, your proof of addresses, etc. With our platform, you'll be able to do it once and be able to do it digitally. And it's proven, it's actually being verified by an institution. So for example, if you do it with one credit union, sorry, my voice is kind of rough this morning. It's very early for me. I'm in Toronto, actually. So when you do it to one credit union, you actually do it so that it's onboarded. And then when you go to the next one, they will be able to see that the documents you provided to that first institution is there. And they can trust through their entire ecosystem that those documents have been accepted by one of their partners, one of their peers in industry, and they can trust it. And that's the main thing that blockchain brings. It brings trust, it brings security, it brings transparency, right, to the different institutions that it's enabling.
As the end user, though, sometimes we raise our eyebrows when we hear that my information is being farmed out by another institution. What's the concerns raised by individuals, and what are the safeguards in place to ensure that access is in some way restricted?
I'm very happy you asked that question. So our platform is what you call a self-sovereign identity, meaning that the user has full control of the data. We have this thing called a personal information vault, where it's encrypted through the blockchain. It's stored on your device. We do not store any information, and neither does the institution store it, right? They only keep what they need to keep by law. For example, something that you provide to them in paper, then you'd also be able to keep it by law with them. But our platform basically allows you to determine who has access to your information, when they have that access, how they use it, right? So you always ask first before an institution can consume that information that you have. So you are in full control, and that's something that you don't see. That you typically hear that when you share your information with things like social media and different institutions, they then resell it to third parties. But in this case, you have full control. Nobody has access to any of your information, so the user has complete confidence that their information is secure.
How easy is it then for me, the end user, the individual, to be able to be a part of this particular initiative, this technology?
So once your institution is part of our pilot, so we're in a pilot with, I cannot name the credit union right now because of certain NDAs. We have a few of them working with, but one of them is live in Barbados. So what you'll be able to do, once you're a member of that credit union, right, you basically would be asked to download the app. You would onboard the information. So it's quite simple. You would download the sharing app. You would put in your Barbados ID, your passport, your driver's license, which would provide your ID, right? Then in terms of proof of address, one of those documents is going to have your address. And also you'll be able to upload something like your bills, right? From your Barbados Light and Power or Digital or Flow. That will show your proof of address as well. You would do your proof of funds, your source of funds. That will be there. And once it's in there, then you're good to go. The other thing is that with that ID, you'll be able to gain access to certain businesses that are part of our ecosystem. So I'll give you something that you might not know. On Friday evening, we did a pilot with St. Patrick's Church, right, where the platform was used to do things such as verify the person's first name, last name, the email address, their phone number, and their temperature was taken digitally. So nobody had to write down anything. That was done pretty quickly. All that had to be done was kind of a QR code of that user, right? And we were also able to work with the Ministry of Health. One or two nurses were there to observe the process, because we can also, if the government so chooses to do so, to verify somebody is COVID negative or they have a vaccination, that same QR code can provide that information. Or if you have a ticket to that event, that same QR code can also show that you have a ticket. It's a VIP ticket, it's a regular ticket, and that you have access. So we are also able to now live provide that to institutions in Barbados.
I was there at St. Patrick's. I wasn't aware that you guys were doing all of this.
Yeah. So you would have seen there were actually two lines. One line was for kind of the the express access, and the other line was for the normal access to the institutions.
Yeah,
so if you were part of it, you would have just scanned your QR code and get your information on.
And this is then providing comfort, ease of doing business, and speed of doing business as well.
Yes, very much so. And again, like I mentioned at the start, it's a really streamlining processes. A lot of the things that we see in terms of what technology, and any technology does is really to streamline processes, increase the efficiencies of things that have been around for quite a long time, right? And they can be digitized. So with the technology such as blockchain, we can do it in a safe manner, in a secure manner, in a transparent manner, so that the user is not wondering at the end of it, was my data stolen, or the institution can now benefit from saving that cost, from being able to report better, from being able to go ahead and use those funds or that energy that would have been spent for those legacy systems to move into more innovation, move into growing the business, hiring new people. So that's what we are looking at pushing for the Caribbean region.
How far along the way in that process though, are you to integrate the regulatory systems of the Caribbean? It'll be great for me to be in Barbados and be able to do a lot more in another island and territory of the Caribbean. How far along the way are you?
We're very systematic about what we do, right? So we have been speaking to a number of regional institutions such as CARICOM, OECS, even CTO. So when you travel, because our platform covers travel, it covers finance. It allows you to basically use the application to go for the airport, to book a ticket and then go for the airport. Prove that who you are who you are. So your immigration process. In these new times that we're living in, if you need to show that you have your PCR test or whatever it is, we can also facilitate that. Then when you travel to our next country and you've done your things like EKYC and you end up, because we're speaking to Dominica, St. Vincent, Barbados, Grenada, Antigua. So once we deploy systematically throughout those different countries, once you travel to those countries, you'll be able to use that same app within the ecosystem to scan a QR code and get the things that you need to be done, right? So like I said, we're very systematic about it. We are operating in Barbados right now as a pilot from Barbados, we are going to go across to Dominica and St. Vincent, and then we're rolling it out. So we're just ensuring that we meet with the different players, such as the regulators. We've already met the Barbados regulator and had them have a look at what we're doing. They were quite satisfied with it, so we moved on then to deploying the pilot in Barbados. So that's how we do it in every country that we will operate. The
effectiveness of a pilot requires the size of the data. And so therefore, in the Barbados as a pilot, how many companies are you working with right now so that you can extrapolate from that data the effectiveness of this technology?
Well, the data itself, like I mentioned, is stored on the user's device, right? So that some of the data, some of the different touch points that we look at, it all depends on the industry. So the tourism industry will want different data. The banking system will want different data. The insurance companies will want different data. With regards to Barbados, we are currently deploying live with one institution. We are already in the discussions with another 3 or 4. We just did the St. Patrick's pilot, so that's one that we're working with already. So that pilot is about an event access pilot, and it came and it's gone. So we were actually supposed to have worked with WICB for the cricket matches that would have happened last month, but because of the situation, it didn't happen. So we weren't able to do it. But as we go along, it all depends on which industry we are in. So the data will determine which industry we are in, so we can look at what success looks like for that particular industry or that particular pilot. So from like an event is going to be a one-off situation, right? So we will look and see, okay, how many people came through the doors, and how many people that we were able to really, or should I say it, we were really to fast forward through those doors by scanning a QR code, while others had to basically stop and give their names, their phone numbers, their email addresses, had the temperature taken, and it would have been 3 minutes for them, but it would have taken 30 seconds for the person using our app. So it's all situational for us in terms of that question.
Well, anyone in decision-making positions will be happy for the access to this data, to this information, because it drives decision-making. And so it's important for anyone who wants to know more about sharing to be able to give you guys a call, to have that discussion, to see how you can help me streamline my business, streamline access to information so that I can make far better informed decisions as well. So how can people contact sharing so that they can start the process of knowing more?
Right, they can go to our website, sharing.network. That's SHARERING.network. All the contact information is there. They can also contact me directly at Daryl, DARYL.Thomas@sharing.network, and we can have a discussion about what they're looking to do. We can design it out and then hash it out and get it done.
The future looks exciting. Daryl, thank you for joining us. You're the Business Development Manager, Innovation Manager with Sharing. You're innovating, and so with your innovation, we're excited about the possibilities as well. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Have a good morning, person.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Right, take care.
Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Still to come on Morning Barbados, we'll meet the author of the book, Bridging the Gap, Being the Change Your Community Needs. We'll hear her exciting journey in law enforcement and how we can benefit from that experience through the pages of that book. But now let's get an update on the news. Here is Shane Seeley.
Here's a look at your 7 a.m. headline news, and the big discussion was about sexual harassment last night on the People's Business. Some commentators are not convinced that legislation will address the issues related to sexual harassment, particularly of women. The director of Impact Justice Project, Professor Velma Newton, was a caller on the program last night, and she says there's proposed legislation before CARICOM which speaks to the issue of sexual harassment.
Our definition of sexual harassment, and it has been reproduced in the Jamaica legislation of the same name, makes sexual harassment include unwelcome sexual advance towards a person, unwelcome requests for sexual favors from a person, unwelcome sexual comment to a person, unwelcome sexual gesture, contact, and unwelcome sexual images or graphics, or unwelcome audio of a sexual nature, and showing pornography, or any other unwelcome physical, verbal, or non-verbal contact of sexual nature. In other words, it is extremely wide, and it captures most of the areas in which, especially women, complain of sexual harassment. And there can be consequences in that you can be taken to court for that sort of behavior.
Meanwhile, the director of projects of the Men's Empowerment Network Support System, Jermaine Beckford, says taking the legal route will not solve the problem of sexual harassment.
It has to be a whole of society approach. Legislation will in no way stop harassment. I think in some ways legislation that is being proposed will cause harassment to increase. Right? At current, there is sufficient legislation on the books. I think we are overly legislated. And, you know, we can operate within the confines of the legislation and ensure that persons stick to the letter of the law. And if any person, male or female, feels that they are being harassed in any way, they go to the Royal Barbados Police Force, make a complaint. And what I will add is that the Royal Barbados Police Force needs to take some of these complaints more seriously than people come to them from early.
And university lecturer Dr. Daniel Bob is not convinced legislation will adequately deal with the issue of harassment and feels there is still a big role for government to play.
I'm going to say clearly, any interaction you have, there is a power dynamic. But that power dynamic differs. If it's man on man, there's a certain dynamic that's there, and oftentimes those are in the legal books. Certain behaviors are criminalized, and you can deal with that differently. If it's a case of, let's say, sexual harassment in the street, in the public space, again, that is a different kind of dynamics that's taking place, especially usually the perpetrator is a man, and it's usually a woman or a girl that's being harassed. And so there's a different type of dynamic, and the access to the kind of justice or even the police support is much different. Oftentimes police, they do not take it seriously, yes, but often that has to do with how are they going to report it, under what kind of legislation, how are they going to process this. But there needs to be also a training around these issues. How do you deal with these matters? What can be put in place to deal with these matters? And so we have to be able to say it's not just about teaching our children in the home, but it has to be the state.
And looking at the COVID-19 numbers, there's been a spike in the daily number of COVID-19 cases. 23 people, 10 males and 13 females tested positive. From the 1,770 tests conducted by the Best dos Santos Public Health Laboratory on Saturday, 101 people are now in isolation. Barbados has recorded 4,548 confirmed cases of COVID-19, and that's since the start of the pandemic. Back in March last year, there have been 48 deaths. And that's it for this edition of your 7 a.m. Headline News. I'm Shane Seeley. Back over to you, Pearson.
Shane, thank you so much. It's now 6 minutes after 7 o'clock. We'll be taking a break here, but when we're back, you have your Crumbs question of the day to answer with me. Stay tuned for that.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
7:07. Get ready to call me now on 228-5562 or 228-5563 because it's time for today's Crumbs question of the day. A question I'll ask, you call to give me the answer. And of course, when you win with Crumbs Bakery. Crumbs is available island-wide and they're delicious right down to the very last crumb. So what is today's Crumbs question of the day? Here it is on your screen. The question is, what was the nationality of the person who named Barbados? What was the nationality of the person who named Barbados, who gave this island this beautiful name, Barbados? What was that person's nationality? 228-5562 or 228-5563. Those are the numbers to call for you to win with me this morning. What was the nationality of the person who gave Barbados its name? 228-5562 or 63. Good morning. Hello.
Morning, Pearson.
Good morning. How are you doing?
How are you? The person
I'm doing
is
well.
Guyanese.
I beg your pardon?
The person's Guyanese, right?
Don't ask me questions, sister.
Yes, I said it. That's the answer.
Your person, your answer is Guyanese?
Yes.
Where did you get the answer from?
I think I read about it in a documentary.
You think you heard about it in a documentary?
Yeah.
How long ago?
You
were a girl.
A long time.
You were like a little girl. Right?
Huh?
You were like a little girl.
Not really.
Okay. What parish are you watching us from?
St. John.
St. John? Okay. What's the weather like today in St. John?
It's sunny.
What a beautiful morning. You are so wrong, you can't begin to imagine.
All right.
All right. Thank you, Miss St. John. Have a good day. 228-5562 or 228-5563. The question still stands. What was the nationality of the person who gave the name Barbados? Who was it? Where were they from? What was their nationality? What was the nationality of the person who named Barbados? 228-5562 or 228-5563. So we can strike Guyana off the list. Good morning to you. Hello.
Good morning.
Hi, good morning. What parish are you watching us from?
St. Andrew.
St. Andrew. Or what's your answer?
It's Portuguese.
Beg your pardon?
The Portuguese.
It's Portuguese. Where did you get the answer from?
How come my head?
You have a head like a computer, girl, because you're absolutely right. It is indeed right. That person was Portuguese. So well done. Thank you so much. Stay on the phone. Someone will take some more information from you. You are today's winner of our Crumbs question of the day. And when we take that information, we'll pass it on to Crumbs. Crumbs will contact you to make arrangements for you to collect your winnings. So well done. She's right when she said the nationality of the person who named Barbados was Portuguese. We'll take a break right here and we're back with more on Morning Barbados.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It is 12 minutes after 7 o'clock now. We've come across a book called Bridging the Gap, Being the Change Your Community Needs. It was written by a woman who distinguished herself as a consultant, author, public speaker, trainer, instructor, leader of the youth, and a safety advocate for men, women, and children right across the world. There's a lot we can learn from her experience. She's also been a part of law enforcement in the United States. She's African American. Her name is Kenyatta McKinnon. Good morning to you, Kenyatta.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well today. How do you do?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming and joining us. This book you've written, Bridging the Gap, you're talking about being the change your community needs. Your experience in law enforcement drives you to write this all down. Why?
Yes. You know, being in law enforcement over 23 years, I've come to the realization that there is a lot of misunderstanding between the community and law enforcement. So me writing this book, Bridging the Gap, was actually to create positive solutions for how law enforcement professionals interact with the community and how the community interacts with law enforcement professionals. I felt the need for this book because it's a lot of things going on right now in the 21st century. So many unjustified shootings, so many people having issues with the community and the community having issues with the police officers and officers having issues with the community. So I felt the need to write this book so that we can have a unified front and positive solutions on how we can solve this epidemic that is hurting our communities worldwide.
Is it not just simply people treating to people?
People don't understand, I think, some of the things that law enforcement has to do, and then the community sometimes is not understanding some of the things that happen when you're in law enforcement. I've been able to be on the police side for 23 years and on the community side, and I think that it's just a misunderstanding. I think that the more that the community interacts with the law enforcement officer, the more that the law enforcement officer interacts with the community. My book just talks about how it will make it better for everybody across the board, and then we don't have to worry about, you know, so many shootings taking place, and we actually are fixing the problem instead of, you know, causing the problem.
We see television. We're fortunate to have it beamed into our homes here in Barbados. So we see many examples of what people consider to be police brutality, where the police seem to have been excessive in their reactions and response to certain situations. You're saying to me this morning, we don't quite understand what the police officers and the law enforcement officials are going through. So how do we begin to bridge that gap so we both begin to hear each other in the noise that each other is making?
Sure. There is a lot of cases where police brutality has occurred. I think the way that we begin to solve the problem is by having that law enforcement officer talk to the participants in that particular community, to form a relationship with that community, that police officer getting to know the kids that are in that community. So when the police officer responds to that community, they have an idea of what they're walking into, and the community has an idea of the officer, so that it's not so foreign towards each other.
Mm-hmm. So, because oftentimes people see the law and be fearful of the law and not see the law simply as to be a partner in their daily living. So how do we break down that four-letter word fair so that there is a mutual understanding of why we exist and how we can coexist?
Yeah. Fairness would be for everybody to understand the dynamics of what the police officer, the information that the police officer is given prior to responding to that community. And the community needs to understand that the officer is there to assist and help them, not hurt them. I think a lot of misconceptions take place because when the officer is called to the community or the officer is called to a particular incident, the officer is given information in advance to what they're responding to. And based on the circumstances and what that officer is responding to will dictate how that officer responds for that particular community. So I think fair would be for the community to understand the dynamics of the training with law enforcement and what law enforcement has to do before they even respond to an incident. And on the community side, I think it would be fair for the community to have a conversation with law enforcement, get to know, their routine and training and how they handle things, so that when an event does occur, everybody's on the same page.
I'm hearing you, and I'm getting a bit of a feeling that the community doesn't understand law enforcement. But then the community says, but the law enforcement doesn't understand what we are going through in this community too. So how do we get that level of understanding so that we can actually become better citizens coexisting?
Yeah. The only way that we're going to get that understanding is through education and training. We have to frequent these neighborhoods. We have to talk to the communities. We have to talk to the youth in the communities. We have to talk to the parents that live in these communities. We have to just educate our children, our youth, educate the parents on the roles that law enforcement plays, as well as the roles that the community plays, so that everybody can come together and bridge the gap. It's going to take an effort from both sides.
How different is law enforcement among the Caucasian community, the white community, versus the law enforcement in the black community or even the Asian community?
Sure. My book talks about statistics. I basically break down that depending on the geographical location of where the officer is called to respond to a scene, kind of dictates how the officer is going to be responded to. A lot of times when an officer goes to communities that are more of a higher class or higher social economic status, they don't have as many issues as if they went to a lower class social economic status. So immediately, depending on the geographical area that officer responds to, it kind of dictates what those particular people that live in that particular area, how they will respond to the police officers. So I think that when we look at statistics, and my book it not only talks about African Americans being shot unjustifiably, but it also talks about Caucasians, Hispanics, Mexicans being shot unjustifiably, because it's not an African American issue, it's a humanity issue. So my book just really breaks down different factors that cause the officers to, be in certain situations. And also my book talks about the community and why they feel the way that they feel about the police officers. So I think it's fair to say that, until everybody is informed on what their role should be as it relates to bridging the gap, then we will still have a constant battle. So that is something that my book talks about, how we can bridge the gap and how we can stop what's going on in the community.
You're absolutely right on that, because you say it's a must read for law enforcement professionals, community leaders, and anyone who has a desire to be the change in their community. And so we're talking about softening a little bit about the language, softening the approach, and understanding one side and the other so that we can all coexist beautifully. Now, have you had a chance to look at the Caribbean experience? And what's the relevance of this book to my Caribbean experience?
Yes, I'm excited. I cannot wait to come to Barbados to speak with communities, to speak with the school, to speak with everybody that's involved, so that we can bridge the gap in Barbados, Mexico, Africa, here in the United States, everywhere, so that everybody can get on the same page. I'm excited. I've also launched a training program that will help and facilitate law enforcement departments to be able to interact with the community and get their officers proper training in what they should do.
This is a fight that we all must be engaged in. No one can sit on the sidelines and think it's someone else's problem to fix. But one way to begin the process of understanding what the situation is before we find that solution is to read the book, Bridging the Gap. Having that conversation in the community, understanding the nuances that drive why people react and respond in the way they do. And some of those little things that are beneath the surface that a law enforcement officer will be aware of, but that to the naked eye as the individual we are not aware of. So we have a greater understanding of the challenges that exist among us. Once people are alive, there are going to be some challenges because we somehow behave a little differently. So it's important for us to be able to do so. I want to talk a little bit about your journey though, because you're an inspirational person as well. You take what you do so seriously because you want to see people become their best selves.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's important for Me as somebody that has been a law enforcement professional for so many years, to be able to reach back and give back to people and give them an inside look as to what the officer encounters and deals with. And also I can speak from the community aspect because I am somebody that is a community person as well. So I think that it's good that I've been blessed enough to look at it from the law enforcement perspective and also the community's perspective. And I think that once people understand and they're educated about the do's and don'ts and what we have to go through in law enforcement, as well as what the community goes through, I think that that will definitely begin bridging the gap and making it better for everybody, a unified front across the world.
Indeed. The book is called Bridging the Gap, Being the Change Your Community Needs. And how can folks here in Barbados now begin to have access to that book? So when you come to Barbados, we could proudly tell you we've read it and we know exactly what it is. So tell us how to have access to your book.
Sure. You can go to Amazon.com and you can order my book. Amazon.com, and you type in Kenyatta McKinnon, Bridging the Gap, and once you do that, the book will pull up and you can purchase at that time.
Right. And I really want to commend people to really go check it out yourself, and you will find that you will find solutions in there, tools and techniques to help you better understand what it is that law enforcement is going through and what it is that we all, because we're all part of law enforcement. We think it's the officer dressed in the uniform, but we are too a part of law enforcement. And how can we work collaboratively so that our community becomes a better place for each of us to live? Kenyatta McKinnon, thank you so much for joining us. We wish you only the best with this book, and we hope that many people learn from it as well. It makes a true difference to our community. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Barbados. Love you guys. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining. Morning Barbados will continue right after this.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 25 minutes after 7 o'clock. I must tell you, Operation Triple Threat is an amazing program. It opens up the scope for such creativity to flow through the veins of our young people. And one of those young people will be joining us now, along with the director and founder of Operation Triple Threat, because he needs your help. Let's introduce you now to Amunike Gomez, who is one of the actors, and to Janelle Headley, who is the director and founder of Operation Triple Threat. Good morning, both of you.
Good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
Thank you. Janelle, I want to start with you because you know how I feel about Operation Triple Threat. My nephew naturally is a part of it. And I've seen all of the work that you put into these young people and to the productions, which are first class. Congratulations, first of all. Let's talk a little bit about Operations Triple Threat and what it does for our young people.
Thank you so much. Yes, John Michael has been a member, and we're super proud of him.
Yes.
Operation Triple Threat is a registered charity, and our modus operandi is to allow young people to be the best they can be through the performing arts. And we provide 6 services, so access to Sing Dance Act training, scholarships to attend those programs, also a Bridge Award program, which allows students to take part in short-term and long-term studies overseas. We also have our meals program, our social support services program, which takes care of their mental, psycho and social needs. And then finally, our academic support program, which makes sure that their academic studies never suffer after being in our rehearsals for so many hours. We want to make sure that they're whole and grounded and still doing well in all aspects of their lives.
It is truly developmental of the whole person who comes to Operation Triple Threat. And one of those people is Amunike. Amunike, good morning to you again, and tell us a little bit about how you first got involved in Operation Triple Threat.
Hi, morning. I've been with Operation Triple Threat. It was the year of 2011, and I wanted a camp to go to. And my second mom, she gathered some papers and she said, this one is Operation Triple Threat. It's new. I don't know much about it. And I said, well, it's new. I'll try it. Because I think it was legacy at the time, and I wanted to try something new and leave a mark. And 2011, I started OTT.
I remember the first time I saw you were in The Wiz. And what a performance that was at the Frank Culliver Hall in The Wiz. So the theatre bug has bitten you, and it's bitten you hard. And you're doing it so well, because I saw you soar as a character. Let's talk a little bit about moving now from that character onto a bigger stage, because you are about to embark on another stage of your acting career. Tell us about that.
That journey itself has prepared me in many ways. It has taught me the fundamentals of everything that an actor and performer should know, whether it's on stage and off stage. And that itself helped me in my audition, because everything I was taught at Operation Triple Threat is literally what I encountered and saw on the big stages, and also in my audition.
Mm-hmm. And that audition, while it was wonderful for you, you got the support of the team and you went off to do your audition and you were accepted into the school. But there were some setbacks. And now here you are, you're trying desperately to fulfill your dream and you're meeting some stumbling blocks. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. In July 2019, I went off to audition in New York for both schools. I got accepted to both, but when I came back, things took a turn. I received my eviction notice from the home I was living at the time, and it was
I'm with you.
Oh, okay, sorry. I received my eviction notice from the home I was living at the time, and it was simply because my mom had given all her expenses for rent and for everything to me, so I could have gone pursue this dream. And yeah.
So your mother has poured her everything into watching you become what she knows you want to become. And so it's been very difficult, Janelle, to try to get him to that next stage. And that's where I wanted to get folks to clue in on now. Let's talk a little bit about Amunike's abilities and Amunike's needs right now so he can fulfill all of those abilities.
Sure. So Amunike came in, as he said, in 2011, not really knowing what he was getting into. At that point, he had had some exposure to acting, and all of a sudden he was thrusted into singing and dancing as well. Mm-hmm. But from that first encounter with him, you could see that he had a desire to learn. He was open, even though he had never worn tights for dance before or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Eventually by the end of the process, he was realizing, oh, I can move. And, he was dedicated and he wanted more. And over the years, I've continued to see him just take in all of the knowledge and apply it, not just being a performer, but as we say to the students, to be a better person. We feel like the arts makes you a better person. And then in talking to him, realizing that this wasn't just a after school activity he wanted to do or a summer camp thing. This was something that he really desired to be a part of, not just as a performer, but eventually as a director and a writer, and also being able to help other young people after him. And so after that chat, well, several chats really, we started to look at what can we do to make this a reality for him, knowing that he was coming from a single parent home, knowing that, you know, finances were going to be an issue. But that's exactly what our Bridge Award program is set up to do. So we helped him as much as we could at the time, and then his mom stepped up in, you know, as he mentioned, and gave all she could, which I had no idea at the time that she did that. And here he is, you know, this young man poised to go to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, a great school in New York City, but there is this huge shortfall of $35,407 US. And as much as we tried, COVID, the environment, the economic environment has really hindered OTT from being able to raise the amount of funds ourselves or through partners that we would usually do. So we really need the community to rally around this young man who shows promise, who has been dedicated, who has, with many setbacks and seeing many of his peers go on, even though he was there before them, has kept up a phenomenal attitude, giving back to OTT. He now teaches in our program as well. You know, when I see that in a young person, I want to do all I can, but my pockets are limited too, you know? So that is why we thought, let's go and let the community know. I always feel uncomfortable with doing this, but Amanike was willing to share his story. And I hope that it compels persons to give, you know, to this young man who just deserves the chance to pursue his dreams and then impact others by the opportunities that he's going to be given.
I endorse that 1,000,000%. And so this morning, I want you to consider this. If technical crew, if we have the information about how people can make donations, let's show it on the screen. You can go to the Bank of Nova Scotia, and there it is, all of this. If you're desirous of assisting Amunike Gomez to pursue his dream of becoming a professional actor, donate through the Bank of Nova Scotia to the account business name Operation Triple Threat. It's a savings, and you go to the Warren. You can go to any branch, but it's located at the Warren's branch. The account number is right there on your screen, 706262. So go to the Bank of Nova Scotia today and send your money. Make your donation towards making Amunike the best he can possibly be. Become that professional actor. Make your donation. Every little bit counts. If you want to wire transfer as well, you can send your funds again to the Bank of Nova Scotia. The account and SWIFT code is right there on your screen. And if you need further details on that, we can share it with you from here at Morning Barbados as well. But I want to encourage you, every one of you, to give and to give. It's a huge total, but it's a total we can all chip down one by one or collectively. Businesses, this is an opportunity for you as well to invest in the success of our young people. They are tremendous, and they're doing tremendous things. You would have heard Amunike say his mother has already poured all that she can. They were faced with eviction. There were so many things that he's been through just to be. And simply because we want him to become, we want your assistance in this as well with the Bank of Nova Scotia and through Operation Triple Threat. Make your donations and make it generously, because you will see the best coming from Amunike very, very soon. I could see it already.
Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate it. Yes, and our young people are our future, so we need to invest in them so we have a brighter and beautiful Barbados moving forward.
Yeah, just had to let the lump swallow just a little, because I feel this. I feel this simply because I know the work that Operation Triple Threat does. I see the talent that we have on this island, and it hurts sometimes that they're not given the opportunity to become. And I think we all need to be able to step up and step in and give and give and give and give. He's not the end, but he's one of those who needs your help right now. And so we want to encourage people to give that help right now, because time is ticking, and so we won't want that time to run out on us. So let's do that as quickly as possible. Amunike, how are you feeling now?
I'm feeling very grateful.
Good. Glad to hear that gratitude coming from this smiling young man. He's great on stage. He will be even better with our assistance as well. Let's become the wind beneath his wings and help this young man soar. Janelle, thank you as always. You know, I'm always open to assisting you here at Morning Barbados, so feel free to reach out anytime, and let's see what we can do with OTT. You're very welcome. That's
Thank you
Amunike
so much.
Gomez, who needs your help, and Janelle Headley, the director founder of Operation Triple Threat. We encourage you all to make your donations starting now. Thank you so much for joining us. All the best and success to them indeed. Morning Barbados will be back right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
They're good. 22 minutes to go to 8 o'clock. We have two new champions in Barbados. They came right through the ranks with you and us here at the CBC. It is our immense pleasure to say congratulations this morning to you, Statement. You've just won the Soca Showdown. And to you, iWeb, who is the new Kaiso champion. Congratulations, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
I know, iWeb, you are no stranger to winning. You've won Calypso Monarchies before. So you understand what it means now to win. How does it feel, I'll start with you, to be again judged by the people and be determined to the Kaiso champion?
Well, I mean, it's a tremendous feeling. I first of all wasn't expecting it, but I'm really, really happy that it turned out this way. Pleased to be in winner's row. I mean, you really can't quarrel too much about winning, but to know that it comes from the people of the country, it really feels good. So I'm very thankful.
Cause the memories to flow, right? Had to pull in that song. That is it, by the way. That song was so sweet. For real, it is a super song for 2021 indeed. So well done. Congratulations to you. Now, Mr. Statement, here it is. The people have decided that you are the Soca champion. Tell me a little bit about when you got the call to be told you've won. How was that for you?
Well, let me say good morning first. Congrats, Ian. I am still excited. I still feel like, to me, it's all a dream, and all these pieces put together help to make this dream what it is. Actually, when I was actually awake and I was sleeping when the announcement was made, and I woke up, I said, I win the money, when I went back to sleep. Then I was woken up again, and but I am very thankful to the people who have voted me to be where I am today, and I want to say thanks to CBC for putting on this competition in such as what the world is going through right now, and I want to say thank to you guys very, very much. It's a happy feeling. It's a very, very good feeling.
And you just want to party, right?
Yeah, I would love to. Honestly, I would love to party, but we understand the circumstances why we can't. But it's just a feeling of everybody right now.
Now, I was told that you won with 74% of the votes cast. Imagine that. 74%. Overwhelming majority of those cast were in favor of Statement. Now, did you have any idea that your music was so well loved out there?
Well, at one point, Pearson, there was a point where I felt like, I wanted to give up. Because I felt like I was just doing it. But I do music because I love soca music. I love soca music. And there were people who were constantly telling me, I know, don't give up. But to see the love and the response that I got from those people who made me this CBC soca star, I can tell you now that giving up or saying that I done is no longer an option. That switch is off.
Because you're coming back soon.
Yeah, I always try to make sure that every year I put music out there. Every year I want to make sure that I make my contribution to the festival. and to the carnivals outside of Barbados. So I love what I do. I really love soca music. I love singing, and I am very thankful to those people, like I say, who have
Yes.
made me the soca star today.
And for you, IWeb, you know, you're accustomed to competing against some big stars on a big stage and so on. For you, this was another one of those competitions, assessed a little differently, but you know what you offer, you know what you bring. And so how was it for you when you two got that call? What were you doing and what was your reaction?
Actually, I was following the broadcast, the live broadcast. It was in and out following it. And when I came home, I just decided to go and see how far they had gotten, and I realized that I was at the point of announcing the results. And to be fair, I think the way Admiral held the paper, I saw my name and I was like, that looked like my name, but I ain't sure if it's my name. Right, so then I just waited and see, and he was doing all this stuff about, oh, it's a short guy, it's a tall guy, it's a small guy. You know? And when he finally announced me as the winner, I mean, I went crazy. My dad though, he went absolute bananas. He was like, because I woke him up, he was sleeping, and he started to scream in the house and keep hearing noise, you know. It was a full-on celebration, because I was in shock, and he too was pretty surprised. But we really took a little time, a little bonding time, a little celebration time when the announcement was made.
Yeah, because I mean, when you look at it, Ian, you've been a part of the big stage for quite a while now, and you left and you came back, and even in coming back, you became still a formidable force to reckon with when it comes to competing. I see Statement nodding his head in total agreement there.
Yeah, it's true.
When you set yourself up for the next stage of who you want to become, what is it that you think still you are to achieve?
I have not actually put an album out. That's something that I really wanted to do. I've not put a lot of energy or thought into it. I've thought about it, but not strategically on how I want to go about it. Of course, things have changed. One time it was CDs and these kind of things. Now it's a matter of, you know, the digitization of everything and having the digital platforms available to put the music out there. And when you put effort into an album, you want to make sure that people, one, are inclined to buy it, and it's something that they'll actually enjoy. So that is certainly one of the things that I want to accomplish. I can't wait really and truly to get back on stage, like a live stage with a live band and big show. You know, this is something that I really, really miss. I haven't been actually in Kent since 2018, you know, because I wasn't here in 2019 for Cropover. I actually came back to Barbados the night of Pickety Crop finals, just to take in that particular event, because Water Street Boys, we had about 4 or 5 songs in the finals. So I wanted to, you know, enjoy that night. But I really miss the stage, man. For sure.
We saw that on Saturday night, that you missed the stage. Well done. Statement, what about you though? What's the next big thing that Statement has to do to realize all of his dreams?
Well, as Ian said, I am thinking too on doing an album, because I've never done one. And it's funny enough, because I have a friend in New York who's actually a DJ, who put together a collective put together some of my songs that I've put out, and he said he think it's time now that I should do an album. And it's something that Tony Rebel Bailey from Crossfair, I say big respect to him and Edwin Earwood and the whole gang as well, that he said he think I should do. And it's something that I definitely will look into. And that's the next step for me from here, to do an album.
Well, the people have spoken. There's a demand, clearly. You now need to fill that particular demand. So congratulations, both of you gentlemen. Statement, who is now the Soca Monarch, right here through the CBC Soca Showdown. And the Kaiso champion in IWeb, Ian Webster as well. Gentlemen, best of luck going forward. And we thank you for going along with us and going along with this, now knowing that the people have selected you as their champions. Congratulations indeed. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you so much.
All right.
So there we go. Those are the 2 champions in the Soca Showdown here at the CBC for Cropover 2021. Ian Webster, the Kaiso champion, and Statement, the Soca star. We're going to come right back with even more with the Bajan Afar right after this break.
Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you. Morning, morning, morning. Good morning. Good morning to you.
It's 11 minutes to go to 8 o'clock. Just a few things to remind you of that tonight at 8 o'clock on 94.7 FM in Swing, you would have known the West Indies has won the first test, and so you get a chance to share your views tonight on air on radio 94.7 FM in Swing with Pedro Agard. He'll be breaking it all down and taking your calls this evening. Also want to remind you that today is, as I was told by my producer, is National Rum Day. Whatever that means to you, let it mean. But National Rum Day. But congratulations also to the Barbados Defence Force on recognizing its 42nd anniversary. Well done to that team at the Barbados Defence Force. Congratulations on your anniversary. There is a Bajan anywhere and everywhere. We've gone all the way to South Korea for this Bajan today. His name is Ryan Rock. Good morning to you, Ryan.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Ryan. What time of day is it there for you now?
It's now 8:49 in the night.
So heading for 9 o'clock, heading for your bedtime.
Almost.
And see, for us, morning has only just broken here in beautiful Barbados. Now, you would have grown up in St. Peter and St. Lucie. When you hear the name Rock, naturally, that's where it's come from the north of the island. So, what got you into South Korea in the first place?
Well, first it started with me going to school in Trinidad and Tobago at the University of the Southern Caribbean. And before that, the Barbados Seventh-day Adventist Secondary School and the Bridgetown SDA Primary School.
Right.
But after finishing university in Trinidad, I came back home and I was looking for work and, excuse me, it was kind of hard finding a job. So then I decided to go and start some farming in our backyard. And then I decided I should pursue a master's in agriculture. So then first I applied to England, but that didn't work out. And then after that, my mom saw in the newspaper an article from the Korean embassy in Trinidad offering the scholarship to Korea, and she told me to apply for this. So then, in my mind, I was like scholarships are for people with like good grades, high grades, and I'm like, how am I going to get this? So then I told myself the most I would waste is paper. So I applied for it and went through the whole process. And next Monday will be 2 years in Korea.
All right, 2 years in Korea. Are you still doing agriculture?
Doing plant pathology and physiology.
All right. What's it like though, getting accustomed? Where exactly in South Korea are you, and how is it set? How are you settling into that new place, new culture?
Right now I'm in Seoul, the capital. But when I first came, I did 1 year of Korean language in Daegu, and spent the year there, and I came to Seoul last year. So now I'm going into my final year of my master's program.
You know, there's some differences. Language, the whole culture is completely different from ours. So how have you been able to acclimatize yourself to those differences?
Initially, it wasn't that hard because in language school you have a mixture of different cultures, and like I thought it would have been harder adjusting, seeing that coming from a Western culture to Eastern culture. So language school was okay, but then coming to the master's program, it was a bit of a challenge, but I'm making it day by day.
Oh, that's great. So food, because let me tell you, you know how we eat here in the Caribbean. So how are you eating there in South Korea?
A lot of rice.
A lot of rice. But you know, you can't just eat rice alone. Rice and what?
Usually for breakfast I prepare like potatoes and stuff. And for lunch I would go to the restaurants around campus, and like some days we'll have like steamed chicken, other days more so like they call it bibimbap, is more like rice and vegetables, and other times sometimes Burger King or something, but not too often.
At least for foods that you are familiar with, that's what your plan is, right? I heard you just call a word there, and the language, because obviously now you're becoming a lot more fluent in the language. How difficult or not was that for you to take up? You're laughing, so you clearly know what I'm talking about. How was that for you?
Initially, it was very hard because coming from only speaking English to learning Korean was a major step. So the initial first two levels or so was pretty hard. I was studying a lot. But then after I got the hang of it, started to learn more vocabulary, then I was able to pick up a little faster and being more confident in speaking to the native Koreans.
Right.
That really helped me, especially speaking at church also. That helped me to practice my Korean. And I'm not fluent, but I can survive.
At least they can understand what you're saying and you can understand what they're saying, at least to a point. How does it feel living in South Korea, knowing that just over the way in North Korea there's Kim Jong-un?
Here people don't really study North Korea to that extent.
Okay.
I remember when I first came, there was an alert on the phone, and me not being able to read Korean at that point, I thought it was some, like, you have to go to the bomb shelters or something. So I was a bit nervous, but everyone else was just sitting there like normal. So like people don't really bother about it.
Okay. So do you miss Barbados?
Yeah, I miss being home, miss the beaches, the food. Miss my friends also. Yeah.
So how often do you get a chance to connect back home, to talk to people, to just feel connected? How often do you get to do that?
I talk with my parents every day basically, and then sometimes I would talk to my friends because of the time difference, like now going to bed and then they're going to work, so I have to a bit, but I still get to talk to my family.
What do you think you appreciate better about Barbados, now that you have this experience of living in South Korea?
I would say a closeness of like family connection and the closeness of Barbadian people. Because sometimes here it feels a bit distant, but I find back home we even if you're not from the country, we still like embrace you as our own, and like that's what I appreciate more about home.
You feel like a bit of a stranger in a big land, right?
Sometimes.
Have you met any other Barbadians where you are?
No. There was one person who was here before me, but I wasn't able to meet them before they left. But two more are on their way. So hopefully I'll be able to meet them sometime soon.
And I'm sure the plan is whenever they land, we get together, because you just want to hear people who sound like you and who understand about you as well. Makes life so much easier for sure. So quickly, if you were to come home to Barbados right now, where's the first place you'd like to go?
First place would be my grandmother's house.
Why?
Because I miss my grandmother.
All right, you have that kind of a relationship with her. Where is she? What parish?
St. Lucie.
What
Cave
part
Hill,
of
St. Lucie.
Which where?
Cave Hill.
In
Cave Hill Drive.
Oh, just over the hill from where I'm from, Hope Road. Okay, so you know Rhonda Hines Graham? You've left here too long.
Not too sure.
Too long. All right, so it's your grandmother's house there in Cave Hill in St. Lucie. And what's the first thing you'd want to eat when you arrive in Barbados?
Either macaroni pie or chafette.
You're talking stuff here, my brother. Macaroni pie or chafette. I love it. So if it's like chafette, what is it that you want to get on the order? What do you order?
Wingdings or tenders.
Listen, you're talking just like me here, my brother. Wingdings or tenders. And as soon as the next wingding special comes out, we're going to send it up there to you just to tease you, to let you know what you're missing. But Ryan Raw, it is such a pleasure meeting with you today. So who home in Barbados do you think is watching you right now?
My mom and my dad, Rel and Antoinette Rock. Also my grandmother, Edna Rock, and my aunt, Florine Rock. Right. Also my maths lesson teacher, Mr. Herwood in St. James.
I wonder if you're related, you know.
I don't know who else is watching right now.
There's some rocks in my family. I wonder if you're related, but nevertheless, that's all right. We can discover that another time. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this morning from South Korea. We could only wish you the very best, and we just want the best for you always. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're very welcome. On that note, folks, this is where we got to leave it today. And we thank you so much for joining us. We do look forward to seeing you again tomorrow, should God spare life. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Barbados, get up. Good morning.